Hey, Better Babes, it's Jonathan Van Ness, and welcome back to Getting Better. Disagreements, honey. They can make us feel so crazy. They can make us feel so zany. They can make us feel disoriented. And ultimately, whether it's with our friends, our family, our lovers, on the group chat, at work, at home, disagreements can completely derail us. Not to mention with our fellow country people, because disagreements are literally tearing us apart. Or is it our inability to have a disagreement? Well, to answer that question and to learn how to disagree better, we have Harvard decision scientist and psychologist Julia Minson. Also, her new book, How to Disagree Better, is out now. She's an incredible teacher, writer, person, doctor. Her story is fascinating. And if you're into Anastasia like I am, buckle up, Buttercup. Let's get into our episode today on How to Disagree Better with Dr. Julia Minson. Julia, welcome to Getting Better.
Thank you. I'm so thrilled to be here.
We are so excited to have you. Decisions, honey. Mm-hmm. They are plaguing me sometimes. They stress me out sometimes. So let's just start at the top. I didn't know until I met you that there even is a decision scientist. So what is a decision scientist?
Yeah, so we are social scientists that are kind of between psychology and economics, and we study how people make decisions.
When did you get into that field of expertise in school?
So my PhD is in social psychology, and I am a very opinionated person. And, somewhere along the line, I went to this conference, Society for Judgment and Decision Making. And I was like, these are my people. These are absolutely my people because they tell you this is a good decision and this is a bad decision.
Oh, I love that. And as a non-binary person, I'm so anytime I hear good or bad, I'm but there's got to be some nuance. There's got to be some gray space.
A lot of nuance.
But then I wonder, but then there are things where you're I know this is yes or no, black or white. But then so many things I think are gray. But I think in another life, I would have been a lawyer. So I feel I can just talk myself into so many things.
Yeah. So most people can. That's what we call motivated reasosoning. Oh. People like to convince themselves of various things that they want to believe. And we're all incredibly, incredibly good at it, which is why we need social science to help us figure it out.
Yes. I bet your job has been getting harder, in the last, right? We have so many different opinions and we're all making such wildly drastic different decisions all the time. So I can imagine studying it is more spicy than ever.
One of the things you're bringing up is people are navigating this crazy trade-off, right? You hear something that you disagree with, right? Whether it's a political opinion, whether it's how you should parent, whether, these strawberries are moldy, don't eat them, whatever it is, right? Yeah. And you're should I say something because that doesn't make sense, right? And then it's going to cause a bunch of drama, and then that person is going to escalate, and then these people are going to watch and think that I'm an idiot, right? And so you're weighing all of those risks. And so you say, you know what? No. I'm just not going to say anything. I'm going to let it go. I'm going to turn the other cheek. And then you often feel like a coward, right? And you sort of resent that person and you think about all the things you coulda, woulda, shoulda said, and it feels terrible. And you're just sort of between a rock and a hard place. And I think a lot of people go through that daily, right? That trade-off that just both things feel awful.
Being quiet feels bad and the repercussions of saying something feels bad.
Exactly. And so what I'm really after in my research is trying to figure out how to teach people to say something without setting the relationship on fire.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what would you say is the gold standard for disagreeing very well?
So I think that one of the main things that people get wrong about disagreement is that they think it's all about changing the other person's mind. Right? I'm going to tell you how it is. I'm going to explain to you why I'm right, you're wrong, correct your misunderstanding, right? And then as soon as you do that, it's sort of a win-lose situation, because if I've convinced you that you're wrong, then you feel like a dummy, right? And you don't appreciate it. And so, of course, you're motivated to convince me back.
Yeah.
So I would say step one, right, is thinking about what's my goal here? And is my goal realistic? And do I even need this, right? If I need to convince this other person of something because it matters, is that realistic? How do I go about it? Or are there other things I could pursue, right? I could learn about their perspective. I could learn what happened to them that made them hold this belief. I could learn why it matters to them. I could just come off as a good listener. I could have a good time. I could tell a joke. I could sound smart. I could space out in my head and let them rant and just let the clock tick away, right? There's so many things you could do in a conversation besides just trying to convince the other person that they're a dummy.
So basically what the gold standard is if you're coming from a place in a disagreement of trying to convince the other person to see your POV.
Right. And we sort of default into that, I know so many people, and I've had this experience a million times where I'm I am going to be so patient. I am going to go in wanting to understand.
I feel like it's something that's coming up for me. It's a little bit, stick with me, watchers and listeners, but I have someone who I love so much, and they were in a relationship with someone that I was kind of on the fence about. And that's such a thing that friends and loved ones will disagree over. Is this really your person?
Yeah.
And I knew internally, I was never going to cut this person off. I love this person. I don't give a fuck. I go hard for this person. So you're going to be whoever you're going to be with. I'm going to love you no matter what.
Yeah.
But it is going to limit how much I'm going to be in your life.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily want a front row seat if it's going to be a really rocky situation.
Right.
I might be in a car, a couple cars back, ready to pick up the tires when they fall off the fucking car and got to call the ambulance. I'll just be watching from back here. I don't want a fucking front row seat.
Right.
So, and when I kind of had this initial conversation with this friend where I was I know this is going to impact our relationship because I can't sit around and watch for sure. And then they were but you're not for sure. You don't know for sure that this is going to happen. And I was pretty fucking sure. I've known you for a long time. And she was but you don't know for sure. And so based off of the off chance that maybe this was the right partnership and maybe it could work out, I'm going to pursue that.
Right.
And it's either going to be okay or it's not going to be okay. And either you're going to love me or no. And I was well, I am going to love you. I'm going to be 3 cars back. I'm not going to be, right here. So I'll be back there.
Yeah.
And then I ultimately was right.
Yeah.
As I always am. But the point is, I feel that was a really good disagreement handling for me because, and not only in that exact relationship and in other friends that I'm equally close with, something to that level of disagreement would have caused an actual full fracture of the relationship.
Yeah.
Where I wouldn't have come back and I wouldn't have even been in there, we would have just grown apart. And I think that's not having to be 100% aligned on something all the time.
Yeah.
I think is another way that we can disagree better. But I think the reason why my brain keeps going to Christianity, just because I grew up in such a religious space and I'm from a town of 40,000 people and most people are really influenced by their Christian faith in one way or another. And when we talk about indoctrination, I really feel I was indoctrinated there. And so much of it was opinion based. If you do not hold these opinions and these values as your own, you are not in this tribe anymore. You are excommunicated from this tribe. And so it's this thing that for so many people is loving and inclusive and community based, where they get all of this ooey gooey goodness from it. For me, it's more I'm kind of scared of that, being really churchy, Christian spaces. I like the people there, and I know that people are coming from a good space or most of them think whatever. So, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just think that we're infused with this idea of that you have to agree with me,
Yes.
at least in American culture, very early on.
Well, so many things to pick up on there. So many things. I think one of the things about you and your friend in the relationship, probably what made it work is you didn't get into this argument of will it work, won't it work, will it work, won't it work? You expressed what you didn't want to be involved in, which was front row seat to watching your life collapse, right? And she was well, here's my reasons for doing it. And I respect that you don't want the front row seat, but I hope that you will still be sort of in my life, right?
And then I totally did attempt. I was there and we all got to know each other, but then I was totally right.
Yeah. But
but not that I needed to be right.
Right. But but this is the thing, right? Is that if you have the conversation about, here's what scares me about this situation. Here's what I would like to not see happen, but I love you and I support you. And how can I support you given that these are the concerns I have?
Yes.
That's very different than trying to convince a person that they have bad judgment and this other person is going to ruin their life.
Our conversation was like a non-binary version of that. Like there was some love in there.
Yeah.
Like there was some like the first part of that, like it sounded more like that. But then there was some moments of frustration that were more like the second part. And then we still made it work.
Yeah. And on the Christian thing, I can sort of share my experience with this. So I am a first generation immigrant from a Russian Jewish family.
Yes.
And my mom brought me to the United States because she married my stepfather, who is American, not Jewish, and was a therapist and the nicest guy in the world. And I was like a weirdo. Right. I wore all the wrong clothes. My hair was all wrong. I had a weird accent. I was like.
You had a little baby Russian accent?
Oh, it was not a baby Russian accent. It was like the full blown.
Because were you like 6 or something or like 10 or like.
I was 11.
You were 11. What a tough age.
Oh my God. I wore all the hand-me-downs.
To America and
to
when you were.
Denver, Colorado, the suburbs.
An 11-year-old you.
Yes.
Ends up in fucking the suburbs.
Of Denver, Colorado.
And until you were 11, you were living in.
Yekaterinburg, Russia.
And you could, oh wait,
Ural
I thought that was Yekaterinburg. Isn't that where the Bolsheviks killed the Romanovs?
Yes. Okay, I used to walk by, like there used to be a big monument to it because, that's where they, whatever.
Full chills. So when I was 11, I saw Anastasia and I never got over it.
Oh my God.
I have like an ADHD, like compulsive knowledge of like the Russian Roman or the Romanovs.
Wow.
Like my auntie took me to see it. And then I was interrogating her afterwards. I was like, well, what happened to the siblings? Was that really, could Anastasia have really lived? Like, was it really possible? And then she was like, if you ask me one more question, I'm going to take you to the library. I'm going to drop you off there. And then I was like, how many siblings did she have? And she stopped the car, turned it around, showed me to the Quincy Public Library and dropped me off there. And my mom had to like pull me out kicking and screaming because I like got all the VHS tapes. And I was like watching them all, taking fucking notes. Like it really got me good. So when I was
little, right, there was a monument in the center of town. I'd walk by it like it was fancy and there were statues and like this is the place where we did the thing. And then I came to the US and I grew up and I was like, oh, that was the place where they murdered a bunch of children.
Yes.
Like what? You know what I mean? Like the dots connected.
But they thought, but like this is like such a sidebar. But when you were little, like was like the vibe in like, wait, how do you say it again? Yekaterinburg. My gay accent, my gay Midwestern accent read that as Yekaterinburg this whole time. I'm
trying to say it in Russian now. Yekaterinburg.
So wait, did like when you were little, like were people still talking about the Romanovs or were people like, oh, that was sad? Or were people like, no, they were like spending too much? Or did people not care like in 1989?
So when I was growing up, it was still the Soviet Union.
Right.
It was still full on communism.
Right.
And the Romanovs were like.
They were like so far before that.
No, they were the oppressors that like communists overthrew.
So they were still like hotly not liked in the 80s.
Yes. And if you had, I mean, it was the beginning of like perestroika and glasnost and like a little bit of a thawing and, people becoming aware of the fact that, the Soviet Union is all fucked up and, communism like not working. But you couldn't say that out loud. No. Right? You could still get like arrested, demoted. Like
for talking shit about the government.
Oh, yeah. And so then when we left, it was like the fall of the Berlin Wall, happened right when we left.
My best friend makes these stunning personalized pet portraits, and I ordered 3 for all 3 of my dogs. We're giving obsessed. And honestly, if anyone understands that energy, it's OLLIE. OLLIE is so thoughtful about the full experience. Their fresh recipes are developed by real chefs and backed by vet nutritionists, which I love because your baby deserves food made with real care. From the moment you start, everything is tailored to your pup. The meals are perfectly portioned, and they even send a little Puptainer and scoop, which is deeply satisfying. I have like 10 of those Puptainers, and through their app, you can actually check in on your dog's health with real vets by uploading a picture so they can help monitor weight, digestion, teeth, and coat. Get ready for both you and your pup to be obsessed. Head to ollie.com/better, tell them all about your dog, and use code BETTER to get 60% off your welcome kit when you subscribe today. Plus, they offer an obsession guarantee. If you're not completely obsessed, you'll get your money back. That's OLLIE.com/better and enter code BETTER to get 60% off your first box. OLLIE. Feed the obsession. Your word challenges the idea that conflict mostly comes from threatened identity or hurt feelings.
Yes.
You argue that conflict often comes from something simpler. Everyone thinks they're right. Let's get a little bit more into that.
Yeah. Okay. So the reason people have opinions is because they've experienced something or they've read something or somebody told them something and they now believe it.
Yes.
Right? And then they run into another person who has had different experiences or learned different information, and so they disagree, right? And conflict basically arises in those situations where you're like not okay with the other person continuing to believe whatever they believe.
Yes.
Right. So like if I think that, the last season of The Bear was amazing and you think it was like, right. Like maybe I don't love your opinion, but I don't actually need to change your mind.
Right.
Right. Like you can believe whatever you want to believe.
Right.
If we are parenting a child together, if we are running a company together, if we're trying to buy a house together, then I can't sort of condone you having like wrong opinions.
Right.
Right. I need to fix your opinions.
Yes.
So that you get on the right page.
Right.
Right. And so that usually happens when we're in a situation where your opinions dictate my behavior. Right. Like if you can go do your own thing, I don't care if it's like whatever. Right. But if it affects me and my life, then I need you to see things right.
It's like why my father and I don't have a relationship right now. Like, because for me with him, like I like don't want any seat to that.
Right.
When you're like, it's like your opinions are right.
Right. Exactly. Right. And so, I mean, you think about it, you're like, okay, if a person believes something terrible and they live in some like tiny country on the opposite side of the globe where I will never meet them, and like their country can't sort of like influence my country because they're all the way over there. Do I care what they believe? Not really. If that person with those same beliefs like works in my company or lives in my building, now I really care.
Yeah.
Right. And so what that kind of implies is that we are the harshest on the people we're the closest to.
Oh.
Right? Because you have to get them in line.
Yes.
And while you're getting them in line, they're like, fuck you, I'm fine.
So let's get into like what your work does, which is like you teach people how to like disagree without that like walk of shame.
Yeah.
Like I just think I watch too much Erin Brockovich and Bridget Jones's Diary, So it's like whenever I have a conflict with someone, I want to be like, well, if that means working within 10 feet of you, I'd rather have a job wiping Saddam Hussein's ass.
Yeah.
I watch too much movies. Or when like Julia Roberts is like, oh, you want my number? What number would you like? Remember from Erin Brockovich?
Yeah.
And she's like, 3? Because that's how many months old my daughter is. Or how about 8?
Right. Okay. So here, that's a perfect example because everything we have in our heads as far as disagreement is like some movie scene.
Yes.
Right. And I'm actually about to do like a video for my book where I dissect some scenes from like popular TV shows to be like, see how great this sounds? It would never, ever work in the real world, right? Because nobody ever sounds that smart. Nobody has the perfect line. And guess what? The other person won't let you finish, right? Like every one of these, like, you can't handle the truth. Oh. Like, the other person isn't going to let you finish your damn monologue.
Yeah, especially when it's that good.
Yeah, they're going to interrupt and you're going to stumble and you're going to be like, well, that's not how I meant it. Hold on, let me try again. Like the perfect mic drop thing doesn't actually happen in reality.
It's so true. Or they edit out of the episode.
Right. Or here's the other one. Sometimes I come up with a very good zinger and then my husband just walks out of the room. And I'm like, fuck.
It was too much.
Yeah, I won. But I actually didn't win.
Yes.
Right.
My husband does that sometimes.
Right. Like you say something that sounds so great and you're like replaying it like, just wait till I tell my friends how smart I was.
No, my little gingerbread, sometimes it's like, that was way harsh, Ty. Sometimes
Yeah. And then you're like, damn it, that shouldn't have been said.
Yeah, see, for me, I normally, if I fuck up like that, it's like I didn't even put together what part of what I was saying was that mean.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Like,
You sounded clever.
Yeah, I'm usually like not slick enough. It's usually like meta.
Right.
Like it's like some meta thing where I was like, oh, that was really bad. I didn't really, like usually I'm like, no, and it's like, I'm Whitney Houston's sister from The Bodyguard. I don't know. I was very stoned, and I was.
Well, but so this is the thing, right? Is that the fantasy moment we have about how we're going to convince the other person with the really clever argument, it's never going to happen, right? And if it happens, it's at the cost of that person feeling stupid and probably not wanting to talk to you again. Right. So if we want to have good disagreements where we can express our views and like not set things on fire, we need to give up on the idea that the other person will be convinced and will then like thank us for it.
Because you were a ballroom dancer, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
So do you have strong opinions on like figure skating? Do you watch figure skating?
A little bit. What kind of strong opinions?
Well, I was just trying to think of like if we could like role play a disagreement that's like not about the Middle East or something.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. But
Okay.
it needs to be something we both know about.
Non-political. No. Well, so like any kind of life, like, okay, organic food. Do you care? Do you like only eat organic berries or do you just like eat whatever is like on the shelf right there?
With organic food, I read this book called Skinny Bitch by Rory Friedman and Kimber Kwan, and they were saying that the USDA is like kind of like, it's like not really all the tea. And so if it's one of those fruits that like really sucks up the pesticides,
The dirty dozen.
then like I want to do the organic. But if it's like the banana or whatever, then I'm like, oh, whatever, banana is fine. Like if it's like got the good like covering on the outside. Why? What about you?
So I am like, eat whatever, shove it into my mouth and keep running.
Yeah.
In part because I think that if you don't believe in research, what the hell is there left to believe in? Whereas my best friend is like very concerned about, pesticides and the hormones and, all the things. And so it's one of those things because we are very close. We run a business together. We eat together constantly. And, and I'm always just like picking stuff up and she's like, get the organic one. And I roll my eyes and she's like, you're judging me. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't mean to, but.
And so then is that like where a good disagreement kind of ends, is like you both kind of like say you're kind of like, yeah, I think you're kind of being a little silly with like you're over leaning into organicness, but I understand like why that moves you. And so I'm just giving you space to do that. I'm going to try not to judge you when you do it. And then if you just don't need to judge me when I have my like Diet Coke and my gummy bears.
So we had, it's funny. We were, there was the blizzard like last week. We were stranded in Ohio for 3 days together because of the blizzard. And, ate all the things there are to eat in Youngstown, Ohio, which it turns out is not that much.
Not too much. Not too many options.
Right? And so we sat down and we had like an hour and a half long conversation about organic food and science and like what's going to give you cancer and what are the trade-offs you make and, microplastics and like microwaves. And like there's just a lot in there that all comes down to, if you try to convince the other person, right, you can find like all the inconsistencies, right? You can find all the inconsistencies in their beliefs, right? I'm like, science. And she says, yeah, but here's all the places where the science has been wrong, where, the FDA has not done enough due diligence.
Because is she very anti-microwave and you're like, put it in the fucking microwave?
She's anti-microwaving things in plastic. Because plastic leaching into things.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm so on your friend's side about that. I'm not fucking microwaving shit in plastic.
Okay, so this is the thing. I'm like...
I barely just started using microwaves again like a year or two ago, like in glass, okay?
Okay.
Like, because I thought just like the microwave period was going to give me cancer. But then I realized that I was not eating like a lot because I didn't,
Right.
because I just like, I was like, oh, I don't want to put it in the oven. And I was like, bitch, just put the fucking leftover in like in the fucking, it's fine. But it does need to be Pyrex. I'm scared of the plastic, queen. Are you just like, bitch, I grew up across the thing from the Romanovs, bitch. I'm not scared of no fucking plastic.
Right. Okay. So this is the thing.
Is that why you don't give a fuck?
I'm a little bit like, something's gonna kill me.
Well, it's like these week clothes are like, I'm
Probably
from
not the
Detroit. You're like, bitch, I'm
plastic.
from Yekaterinburg, bitch. Like, I know it's gonna fucking plastic.
Right. Like, a vacation near Chernobyl.
Yes, for real. They got those dogs over there.
Right. So here's the thing is like, I think there might be some truth to it. Is it a ton? Like, is it enough plastic to make a difference in my
it's a
actual
credit card
life?
a week.
They say.
They say.
Who is they?
They.
They.
They
That's
said that,
right.
girl.
Exactly.
They did. They said it.
Right. So the
Oh,
nerd in me,
I'm
nerd in me is
obsessed.
like, I wanna see the
Where's
data.
the fucking credit card?
How'd they measure it? Whose credit card was it? What happened to it? And can I charge on it now?
I love that.
If I get a credit card,
yes,
I'd like to be able to charge on it.
Okay, not talk about decisions, but
Yeah.
Have you gotten to go back to Russia? Like, do you want to go back to Russia? Is it like just like on a
So I
vacation? Is it like
Can't go back to Russia
because of like a government thing?
because I did a lot of research around the war in Ukraine.
So fucking mind bending. Whoever you're getting your information from,
Yes.
it's like that's really what you think Bible is.
Yes.
And you're willing to like, what lengths are you willing to go to like allow for disagreement in your society?
Yes. And I think, it's very interesting because I think when people, we talked a little bit about how like people just see the world through the lens of their experience and they think they get it. And they think like, I'm a smart, reasonable person. I get it. Right. And then when somebody disagrees with you, you're like, well, why the hell do you disagree with me? And we very quickly jump to this like, you're a horrible, evil human being who's out to get me for your own like nefarious purposes.
Right.
Whereas in reality, you have no access to any other kind of information, right? We are more ideologically segregated now than we have ever been in our history, right? Like if I wanted to find a Republican in Lexington, Massachusetts, where I live to talk to, I would have a hell of a time looking for one, right? Like if I wanted to thoughtfully talk to a Republican neighbor, I don't know where I would find one.
Right.
Right. And that's the same thing for people who live in red counties. If they wanted to learn about progressive ideas, they would have a really hard time finding a physical human to talk to. Right. So we like think that other people disagree with us because they've been like brainwashed. But we have sort of like sorted ourselves into these different environments where we have no ability to learn about different opinions.
I also think in this world of social and like just social media, it's like we used to connect with our neighbors, with like our communities, like, running into someone in the street. Now we have so many you can have so many engagements with another person, like never even leaving your house.
Yeah. But I think a lot of people really suffer from disagreements they wish they could talk through, but they're scared of going there because all of their experiences have been yelling and screaming at people on Instagram that never ends well, right? And so what I'm sort of after is giving people tools for disagreeing well when you want to, when it serves you.
So let's say that you are in like a good mental space to have a disagreement.
Yeah.
And you don't want to come across as like combative or like, rude or argumentative. You're like literally being curious and you're in a good place to do that. How would you do that? If it is someone on like social media?
I mean, so honestly, between us chickens, I don't think you should disagree on social media.
Don't do it on social.
Because everything about the whole medium is kind of set up to fuck you. Because they're there to make money, right? The platforms are there to make money. Outrage makes money. Outrage gets clicks. So if you want to have a civil conversation, those things are long and boring and they don't get clicks. And so the platforms are not designed for them.
picking up with where we left off, I do want to get right into it. So how do we make someone like feel heard and get them to shut the fuck up?
People spend a lot of time thinking about how to make other people feel heard, right? So like active listening, like you nod and you smile.
I do that a lot.
You're a good active listener. But honestly, like you're looking at me, your eyes are really big. I can't tell if you're analyzing my hair.
Oh.
If you're like really listening to me.
I thought your hair looked great this whole time.
Well, thank you. But I can't read your mind.
Oh.
Right? Like, what are you thinking? Like, you're clearly focused on me, but like, maybe you're thinking about my hair. Maybe you're thinking about my words. Maybe you're like planning your dinner. I don't know.
No, it's in the words in the next questions.
Okay. So this is the point, is that body language doesn't actually tell us shit.
Oh.
Right? Body language is really, really easy to fake. Like we all know you're supposed to nod and you're supposed to smile and you're supposed to lean forward, right? And like you don't interrupt. And I can do all of those things without actually taking in anything you're saying. People are incredibly good at faking body language that looks like listening. So what I have a grad student who I think is a genius, and she says we need to listen with our mouth.
Oh.
Which basically means you have to say things that demonstrate with your words that you really heard the other person and you are like noodling on their perspective and kind of like making room for it in your own perspective, right?
So what I hear you saying is that people need to like say back to the person saying their opinion, like, what I hear about your opinion is that you feel XYZ because da-da-da. Is that correct?
Yes. So you did something there that mediators call the listening triangle. So you asked a question. I went on for a while. Then you restated what I said. And it's a triangle that like is like a cycle. It's like the recycling triangle, right? Where you then ask another question. Did I get that right?
But that's what listening with the mouth means.
That's one technique. So that's called the listening triangle, right? You ask a question, you listen to the answer, you restate, you ask another question, it keeps going.
Yeah, my husband needs to subscribe to this Patreon because this would be really good for him.
I fixed so many marriages.
I bet you have.
But here's the thing though, the listening triangle, you are not getting to talk at all, which is annoying, right? Because you're not my therapist, right? Like it's not your job to just listen to me and like validate me and make me feel heard. And
well, if you're my husband, it the fuck is.
Like at some point you gotta get some
I do it
too.
for him too. You're right.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
you ever thought about being a marriage therapist? I really like because you don't fuck around and you can tell.
It seems really hard.
I bet, but I feel like you could do it. I mean, you are like fucking Russian, honey.
I am. I think I'd lose patience.
All the Russian American immigrants I know, and I know a few Russian first generation American like ladies, they are just like direct, fierce, don't fuck around, don't take no bullshit. Like the lady who helped me write my book, Let Them Stare, is a first generation like Russian American lady. And like, I feel like you guys would be friends.
Or we might kill each other, one of the two.
No, I think you guys would like really make each other lol.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
I can feel your cool. Like I think if you guys were like standing next to each other in like the grocery store, you would end up like talking about something and make each other laugh.
Oh, that's fun.
I do sense that.
That's fun. Yeah, no, I think there definitely is like a cultural like energy to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, okay. So let's say you don't want to be your spouse's therapist. You actually want to like, you want to learn, you want to understand, but then at some point you also want to say like what you came to say, right? Because the reason it's a disagreement is because you have an opinion. Mm-hmm. And I think there's two things people do wrong there. One is, they've like in their effort to be curious and be good listeners, they sort of give up entirely on having their own say. And that feels bad, right? Because I'm like, well, I did all this work and I listened and I validated. And like now I feel like a doormat because I never got to explain my perspective, right? Or the other thing we do wrong is we do like the listening thing and then we start arguing and we completely like railroad over all the things we just heard.
I do that the most.
Okay. So for that piece, there is a toolkit we've developed called conversational receptiveness. So basically the way we did it, if you want to hear like the nerdy details, is you collect thousands of conversations between people who disagree, and you take all these transcripts and you have other people who are not part of the conversation read the transcripts and evaluate the people. And you're like, was this person receptive to their counterpart's point of view, right? And so now you have these scores and you have the transcripts. And then you write a machine learning algorithm that picks out the words that predict the scores. So what the algorithm does is it makes these like long lists of words, and we boil them down into an acronym. Because, you know, you have to have a
We
cute
love a good acronym.
You need a good acronym if people are going to remember anything.
Yes.
Right. So the acronym is HEAR, as in I hear you.
Yes.
Okay. So the H stands for hedging your claims. So it's things like sometimes, maybe, perhaps, you know, some people, right? So I would love to say to the world, look, COVID vaccines are safe and effective, right? Or I could say, most physicians tend to believe that COVID vaccines are largely safe and effective, right? So I just shoved like 3 different hedges in there. It's still the same point. It's actually more accurate.
It is.
Right?
Because some people do have complications. And
some people do have complications, right? And, you know, if I hedge, I've like made a little bit of space for the other person's belief in my argument. So that's the H. The E is emphasizing agreement. So I always tell people receptiveness is not about compromise. It's not about like actually reaching agreement or, you know, changing your mind. It's about finding something you can agree on, right? So we both want to live in a country where all children get a great education, right? Or this has been really, you know, hold on. We can both agree that this has been a hard few years, right? Or I am also interested in finding a solution to blah, blah, blah.
Like I'm like women's safety and fairness is very important to me.
Yes.
Too.
Yes. We both, whatever, right? Because there are actually not that many values, right? Like moral values, there's not that many of them. So most humans actually agree on most moral values. We just like prioritize them differently.
Right.
And so emphasizing what you agree on before you just like dive into dissecting the disagreement kind of just puts you on the same side of the table for a second.
So hedging.
Emphasizing agreement.
Yes.
The A is acknowledgement. So that's the one that you just did really well in the listening triangle, right? So the A is I am going to show you with my words that I was listening to you when you were talking 5 minutes ago, right? So I understand that you're really concerned about the timeline on this project and that you really need more resources and more staff to deliver it on time. Unfortunately, the budget doesn't whatever, right? What people do most of the time is they do lazy acknowledgement. They're like, I understand, but we don't have the budget.
And so there's a couple sentences in there that really could have helped.
Right, because you claim that you understood and now you want me to, you know, pat you on the head for understanding, but you haven't shown me that you understood. Like show me the receipts that you were really listening.
Yes.
And the way you show the receipts is that you repeat back to me so that I know you were actually listening.
Yes.
So that's the A. And then the R does like 2 things. So the R is reframing to the positive. And it's getting rid of no, can't, won't, don't, hate, terrible, right?
So it's like you say something that is very devastating and freeing. And I felt it when you were reading my body language, which was, we can't read minds. So trying to feel empathetic or feel patient doesn't necessarily change the outcome because the other person can't see it.
Yeah.
Is that why I'm so fucking tired all the time?
Maybe.
Because I'm like
doing all this work. I'm doing all this work. Why am I not getting any credit?
And these like fucking crazy hoes don't even know how much I've had to shut up.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. I think about it as a leaky garden hose where you are trying to send a signal, right? You're like, I am going to be so patient. I am going to like be empathetic. I'm going to like be so humble. This is going to be great. right? And you set that intention, and then you walk into the conversation and somebody opens their mouth and you're like, shit, right? But you remember that you were going to be really patient and that you were going to be really empathetic. And so you're still like doing it, but maybe you're doing like half of how much you walked in with, right? Because this person has now pissed you off. And so you take that little half and you're like, I'm going to express it, right? I'm going to listen really, really carefully while this person is talking. I'm not going to interrupt. And now, like my husband, for example, when he listens, he stares off into space, which is very common. This is like people actually spend about 40% of the time like looking up, you know, somewhere like at like 10 o'clock. I do it when I write a lot. Yeah, because that's actually how people process information. And so you are thinking really hard and you're staring into space, and the other person is like, why aren't you fucking listening to me? Like, why aren't you giving me eye contact, right? And so you are doing all this work. They are getting a totally different signal, right? Because they don't expect good engagement from you because you're in a disagreement. And so they're interpreting sort of like your messy signals through the lens of their expectations. So like there's information leaking out of the garden hose at every step. And, you know, like I think American culture is sort of like obsessed with body language because it's kind of like sexy and mysterious and feels like telepathy. But language is like the thing that sets humans apart from every other non-human animal. Like it's our greatest cultural achievement. We should put it to better use.
So it's driving. So as we slide into home and bring this and land this plane.
Yes.
When we are talking about conflicts and disagreements in our lives.
Yes.
Social media, we're not doing it there.
Not doing it there.
And the closer the person is to us, the higher the energy of the feelings will probably be. So that means that like your self-care, like how stressed are you at work? How stressed are you at school? Like how are you taking care of yourself outside of like that disagreement? Like almost needs to be like better if you're gonna, like if you aren't historically super good at disagreements, you're gonna need to take even like better care of yourself. Like, because it really is that thing of the hairdresser. Like, I can't tell the difference between a bear trying to kill me and me enforcing my cancellation policy. Yeah. And I think that really is what it comes down to with disagreements, and what's so threatening about them is that as humans, we are wired for like community and acceptance. And disagreements create this like threat where like, are we going to be asked to leave our community? Are we going to get like exiled by the ones that we love if we disagree? And so that really does bring up this like primal fear where it makes it hard to like not be illogical and because it makes it feel like things are this much bigger existential threat when in reality we're having a conversation and it is in fact okay if we don't agree at the end. Now, if you're a progressive saying that, it's not great that we don't agree. I mean, it's not fucking great. I sure wish that you didn't think that. And that's a tough pill to swallow. Which brings me back to the other thing that I always say politically on this podcast with my friends and people, and which I also think about sometimes, like, which this is really interesting with disagreement. Let's not spend our time trying to convince the other, like 51% of people that voted for something that we disagree with. Let's try to get people that like aren't even in the conversation. It's like better to like empower people with like the awareness that they even like have a horse in this fight or a horse in this race, you know, as opposed to like convincing someone to think your way. Like more just convince people to use their voice and hopefully like, so I always think about that like politically. But I do think that it's like, if disagreement is always going to be linked to convincing, that's really what I'm getting from this. And I think that's where I really feel the most like, I've really been doing that. Oh, I've been doing that hard. I mean, not to say like Dax Shepard's name, but that, like my podcast with him, it's like, I did not feel good about leaving that conversation with him, like not agreeing with me. And the reality is that like, it needs to be okay for him to not agree with me, you know?
Yeah.
And it is okay. It has been. Like the world kept turning all of these days since. It's fine.
Right.
You know? So I think that's really interesting.
Yeah. Well, you know, and I think it's back to like, why do people talk? Like, why do we utter words?
Yeah, why do we?
Well, because we want to be heard, right? It's like, it's so simple that it almost sounds weird and metaphysical, But like literally the reason I'm saying things is because I want you to hear and understand the thoughts I have in my head.
Yes.
And so if you tell me I'm wrong and if you tell me you disagree, I'm like, no, you don't get it. Let me say it again. Right. But if you show me you've heard, right? And this is a lot of sort of like what my research really comes down to is how do you show people that you've heard them? Then I can stop talking because you've heard me.
How do you do that?
Conversational receptiveness. Do we have time for this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, actually, okay. Actually, that's such a good cliffhanger. You guys, part of getting better at life is learning how to be a better interviewer. I got a little bit excited about the Russia part and I like, Anastasia and the Ekaterinburg, I kind of freaked out. We did go through some of this like conversational reception, like how to deal with that better. But if you want to get to that part of the episode, which I know you do, I know you fell in love with how I have, slide over to our Patreon. We're going to pick this up with French Kitty Corner. Thank you so much for coming on Getting Better.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Such a pleasure.
Thank you.